My name is Nathan Hale. I'm 33, a real estate broker who lives by checklists and contracts. And while I was on a plane to Hawaii, my mother sold my house to erase my sister's $214,000 mess. When I landed, they laughed, said I was homeless now. I didn't argue. I smiled. Not because I'm cruel, but because the house they sold wasn't what they thought it was. They thought Family Ties could sign my name for me. They had no idea what I'd set in motion. My name is Nathan Hale. I'm 33, a real estate broker from Austin, Texas. The kind of guy who fixes everything except himself. While I was on a work trip in Hawaii, my mother sold my house to pay off my sister's $214,000 debt. When I came back, they laughed, told me, "Guess you're homeless now." I didn't shout. I just smiled. Because what they didn't know was the house they sold didn't belong to me. Not legally. Not anymore. And that changed everything. Before I go on, tell me where you're watching from, and hit like and subscribe if you've ever been betrayed by your own family. Because this isn't just about money or a house, it's about the moment you realize love without boundaries isn't love at all. And sometimes, peace begins with saying no. I grew up in a house where silence meant safety. My father, Eric Hale, was a man of few words and too many rules. A good son doesn't argue, he'd say. Eyes never leaving the evening paper. My mother, Elaine, played piano in the next room, soft, tragic melodies that made even her smiles sound rehearsed. And my sister, Chloe, was the applause in human form. Everything she did was special. At 8, I learned the word responsible. It meant staying home while Chloe got to go to dance class. It meant cleaning the dinner table while Mom said, "You're such a help, Nathan. She's younger. She needs encouragement." When I got straight A's, they nodded. When Chloe got a C+, they threw a cake. That's how the rules formed, invisible but permanent. Dad died when I was 16. Heart attack. Quick, clean, gone. The house filled with casseroles and condolences, but mostly, it filled with expectation. "You're the man now," Mom whispered at the funeral. I remember her voice, not proud, just desperate. That sentence stuck to my ribs for years. By college, I had 3 jobs and a degree I couldn't afford. I worked the campus copy shop at dawn, delivered groceries by noon, and studied real estate at night. Chloe posted from Europe, a semester abroad funded by Mom's emergency savings. I didn't complain. Not then. Because in my head, I still believed good sons fix things. When Chloe dropped out 6 months later, the program wasn't aligned with her energy. She said I sold my car to help pay off her flight home. Mom called me a saint. I called it survival. I got my real estate license at 23 and spent the next decade making other people's dreams livable. I learned to read ceilings for leaks, walls for mold, and smiles for lies. You can tell a lot from how someone says, "We love it here." I started saving early, putting away 30% of every commission. Mom said I was stingy. Chloe called me boring. I called it freedom insurance. Every Christmas, the same loop, Chloe arriving late, crying about rent, Mom swearing she'd fix it, me footing the bill. Sometimes I told myself I was lucky, at least I could afford to help, but every favor carved a notch somewhere deep. When I bought my house 3 years ago, I didn't tell them at first. I wanted something untouched. The place was modest white farmhouse, porch lights strung like golden constellations, oak floors that creaked like they remembered who built them. The first night I slept there, I felt peace, like the air itself was exhaling. Of course, Mom found out. She showed up uninvited with lasagna and advice. "This is too big for you," she said, running her fingers over the marble counter. "You should let Chloe stay here a few months until she gets back on her feet." I laughed, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. When I said no, she froze, like I'd spoken blasphemy. "Don't be selfish, Nathan. Family means sharing." I remember my hands trembling as I set down the wine glass. "Then maybe I'm not family," I said quietly. She didn't speak to me for 3 weeks after that. The funny thing is, guilt is louder than anger. It hums under your skin until you start to wonder if maybe they're right. Maybe you were too cold. Maybe boundaries really do make you cruel. Then I met Maya Torres, a single mom who rented one of my listings for 6 months. She paid on time, left cookies for the cleaners, and once told me, "You look like a man who never gets to rest." She said it kindly. I didn't know how to answer. Maya taught me small things like how to sit still long enough to finish a coffee. Her son, Leo, once drew me a picture of a house and labeled it safe place. It was the first time that word ever felt real. When the market slowed, I turned my property into a short-term rental. Legal, clean, smart. I formed an LLC, Hale Ridge Holdings, to protect it. I put everything in the company's name: the lease, the utilities, the tax ID. My own name was nowhere. I didn't hide it from my family. I just didn't advertise it. Some lessons don't need repeating. By the time winter came, the house was finally what I'd wanted: simple, quiet, mine. The night before my flight to Hawaii, I walked through every room. The hum of the fridge, the smell of lemon polish, the low creak of the stairs. Home wasn't a place. It was proof I existed. I didn't know that while I was staring at the sunset over Maui, my mother and sister were sitting in a diner under flickering fluorescent lights, sliding forged papers across a table. I didn't know the family motto had evolved. Good sons fix things, it used to say. Now it said, good sons don't fight back. But I was about to. The last time I visited my mother before everything collapsed, she made tea and told me, "You work too hard, Nathan. No wonder you're still single." It sounded like concern, but the undertone was clear. If I had a wife, maybe she could fix me, make me more generous, more forgiving, more pliable. Chloe sat on the couch, scrolling her phone, pretending not to listen, but smirking when Mom said, "Family doesn't keep score." That line stuck with me, because my whole childhood was a scoreboard. Every act of help tallied in silence, every disappointment excused away with love. When I was 27, Chloe asked for $10,000 to relaunch her wellness brand. I asked for a business plan. She said, "You don't trust family?" I said, "I trust math." We didn't talk for 6 months after that. Mom called every week, guilt soft in her tone. "She's just not as strong as you. Why do you hold grudges?" I wanted to tell her it wasn't a grudge, it was a record. But saying that out loud would have made me the villain. After Dad died, Mom learned how to weaponize worry. She'd call crying about bills and hang up before I could ask details. Then Chloe would text, "She's upset because you're cold." I'd transfer money. The next morning, they'd post brunch photos with captions like "Family time heals everything." And I'd just sit there, staring at my own breakfast going cold. One summer, I remember helping them refinance Mom's house. The bank officer kept calling me Mr. Hale, assuming I was the owner. Mom smiled and said, "He practically is." I did all the paperwork, covered the appraisal fee, even fixed the leaky roof myself. The day we signed, she hugged me and whispered, "I couldn't do this without you." Then she handed Chloe the new keys and said, "This will be your home someday." I smiled for the photo, but something in me went quiet. That quiet became habit. By the time I hit 30, I was a walking apology wrapped in a suit. At open houses, clients called me calm. What they meant was controlled. I could negotiate six-figure deals without raising my voice, but I couldn't tell my mother no without feeling like I'd kicked a puppy. Then came Chloe's debt spiral. The numbers started small, 5 digits, then 6, then calls from collectors. I offered to help her restructure, set up a payment plan. She cried, said I was being cruel. "You make 6 figures," she spat once. "You wouldn't even notice if you gave me 50 grand." I would. I always noticed. When I refused, Mom called that night. "She's your sister, Nathan. Blood matters. Boundaries matter too," I said. There was silence. Then, "You sound just like your father." She meant it as an insult. I took it as a compliment. The last Christmas before the sale, I tried to make things normal. I brought gifts, nothing expensive, just thoughtful. A leather planner for Mom, noise-canceling earbuds for Chloe. She unwrapped them, looked at the box, and said, "Did you get a sponsorship deal or something?" I laughed it off. Later that night, she posted a photo of herself holding the planner. Captioned, "Grateful for my brother, my rock, my investor." The likes rolled in. I said nothing. When I announced the Hawaii trip, a rare, self-paid break, Mom frowned. "How long?" 10 days. "Who's watching the house?" "No one needs to. It's booked, insured, locked, and I have cameras." She pursed her lips. "You always were so cautious. Maybe that's why you never let people in." I smiled. Maybe. I didn't know those cameras would one day save me. My flight left before dawn. The Austin air was thick with winter rain. I remember checking the locks twice before leaving, running my hand along the doorframe like it was skin. I didn't know it'd be the last time I touched that door as its rightful owner. Hawaii was paradise. For 6 days, I woke up with the sun, surfed bad waves, and drank better coffee. I didn't think of work or family or Chloe's latest wellness collab. I thought about buying another property, maybe moving closer to the lake, maybe starting over. Then my phone lit up with missed calls: 19 from mom, 12 from Chloe, 6 from an unknown number. Dad used to say that bad news never announces itself. It just sits down at your table uninvited. When I called back, Mom didn't say hello. Her voice was sugar and static. "We fixed your problem, sweetheart." "What problem?" "The house," she said brightly. "We sold it. You'll understand when you hear the numbers." It took me 5 full seconds to speak. "You did what?" "It's fine," she said quickly. "Everything's handled." The buyer was thrilled. "You should be grateful. We saved Chloe." I laughed, small and sharp. "You stole from me." "Nathan," she snapped. "Don't be dramatic. We're family." That word family hit harder than theft, because in her mouth, it didn't mean love. It meant ownership. That night, sitting on a beach with the phone cooling in my hand, I realized something. They hadn't betrayed me that morning. They'd been doing it all along. Every guilt trip, every "you're stronger," every "she needs it more." This was just the grand finale. I looked out at the dark water and whispered to no one, "You can't sell what isn't yours." Because you see, I'd built Hale Ridge Holdings for a reason. I'd learned too much from too many closing tables to leave my name on a deed anyone else could touch. While my mother and sister clinked glasses over my sacrifice, their buyer, Mr. Wexler, had already wired the money into a black hole one I'd helped create. The first move in a quiet game I'd been planning longer than they could imagine. And for once in my life, I wasn't fixing anything. I was watching. The flight back from Hawaii felt longer than the trip there. I didn't sleep. I just kept replaying Mom's voice, cheerful, certain, guiltless. "We sold it. You'll understand when you hear the numbers." There's a special kind of silence that comes after betrayal. It's not rage, it's precision. When I landed in Austin, the world felt smaller. The air, heavy. I went straight from the airport to the house. My house. Or rather, the property they thought they'd sold. A moving van sat crooked in the driveway. Mom stood by the porch in her pale blue cardigan, giving orders to 2 guys hauling boxes. She looked up, surprised, like I'd ruined her rehearsal. "Oh, honey," she said, half laughing. "We didn't think you'd be back this soon." I stared past her into the open front door. The smell of fresh paint. The sound of furniture scraping. Someone was already rearranging my life. "Mom," I said slowly, "where's the buyer?" "Inside," she said, gesturing like she was introducing me at an open house. "He's very nice. A Mr. Wexler. We met him at the diner. He paid cash." I walked inside. Wexler was there, tall, tan, too polished for that neighborhood. He looked up from his phone and smiled like we were old friends. "You must be Nathan," he said. "Great place you had here." Had. That one word stung more than the forged signature. "You bought this?" I asked. "Technically," he said, smirking. "Your family did the selling." I looked at Mom, her face bright with false calm. "We had to. Chloe was in trouble." Behind her, my sister appeared in the hallway, hoodie oversized, eyes glossy but dry. "You should thank us," she said. "We saved your credit." My jaw flexed. "You saved nothing." She shrugged. "You always said money isn't everything." And that was at the line that cut through the last thread of patience I had left. I didn't yell. I didn't touch anything. I just said, "Everyone out." Wexler chuckled. "That's not how this works, buddy." I stepped closer until he felt the weight of my calm. "It's exactly how this works." He started to say something else, but I raised my phone, already recording. "Leave. Now. Before I call the police." Wexler hesitated. Mom put a hand on my arm, pleading. "Nathan, stop. This is family business." "Not anymore." They left. That night, I sat alone in my car, parked at the end of the street, watching the porch light blink on and off through my camera feed. The footage was clean. Faces, signatures, timestamps. Daniel, my lawyer and old college friend, answered my call before the first ring ended. "Tell me this is another one of your real estate nightmares," he said. "It's worse," I replied. "My family forged a sale." There was a pause, then a low whistle. "Okay. Walk me through it." I told him everything. The diner, the forged signature, the buyer, the debt. When I finished, he said quietly, "You set up an LLC, right?" "Of course." "Then they didn't sell your house." "I know," I said, "but they think they did." Daniel's voice sharpened. "Then let's make sure they show us just how far they'll go." That night, I went through every document they'd signed, every email, every text. The paper trail was sloppy but clear. Wexler had wired money into a shared family account, not the LLC. They'd sold nothing. But the audacity that they'd done it at all was its own kind of theft. 2 days later, Chloe went live on Instagram. Her caption, "Debt-free and thriving. All thanks to my amazing brother Nathan for helping me start over." The comments poured in. "He's such a good guy. What a family man. You're lucky to have him." I stared at the screen until the words blurred. They'd not only stolen the house, they'd stolen the narrative. Mom texted that evening, "Don't be mad. We'll talk soon. This will blow over." No, I thought. It won't. Daniel sent a message the next morning. "Do you want to go public or stay silent?" "Silent," I replied. "For now. Because silence is how you hear the truth echo back." Later that week, Daniel forwarded an internal memo he'd obtained. Wexler was already preparing to flip the house to a third-party buyer. And that's when the real picture came into focus. Wexler wasn't just a buyer. He was a con artist in a suit. And Chloe wasn't a victim. She was his partner. I leaned back in my chair and let that realization sink in like a stone hitting still water. They thought they'd fooled me, but I was done fixing their mistakes. This time, I'd let them break themselves. The next week, I stopped reacting. No calls, no texts, just silence. That's how you disarm people who feed on chaos. You starve them of noise. Mom started with guilt. "You're tearing the family apart, Nathan." Then pity. "You've always been so lonely." Finally, threats. "We'll make this official if you don't cooperate." I didn't respond to any of it. Instead, I sent Daniel the footage from my security cameras the day they entered the property, the forged paperwork, even Wexler walking out with his smug grin. Daniel texted back, "That's enough for a fraud case, plus identity theft. You sure you don't want to press charges?" "Not yet," I replied. "Let's see what they do when they think I've given up." So I did what I do best. I played calm. Chloe posted another video a few days later. She was sitting on a minimalist couch in her new apartment, glowing ring light in her eyes. "I just want to thank my brother," she said sweetly, "for reminding me what family means. Sometimes people do hard things out of love." Thousands of likes, hundreds of heart emojis. I watched it all from my phone, sitting in my car, parked across from Daniel's office. Daniel glanced at me when I came in. "You're quiet," he said. "I'm taking notes," I replied. He smiled. "Good. Let them write their own confession." That afternoon, he showed me something. An email chain between Chloe and Wexler. It had been forwarded anonymously from one of Wexler's assistants. Apparently, Wexler wasn't as careful with his laptop as he thought. The subject line read, flip timeline. The body said, "Once Hale calms down, we can move forward with relisting. My mother's handling the tax side. We'll stage it as a family transfer. No paper trail." Below that, a reply from Wexler. "Perfect. I'll cut you 10% when it closes. 10% of my home." My chest felt like it was filled with sand. Daniel looked at me. "We can shut this down right now." I shook my head. "Not yet." Because I wanted to see at the exact moment they realized I'd been watching the whole time. That night, I went to Mom's house. I didn't knock. She was in the kitchen, candle lit, wine glass half full, humming over a lasagna. "Nathan," she said, startled. "You could have called. Would you have answered?" She sighed. "Please don't start. We did what we had to do." "Did you?" I asked. "Because you didn't just sign my name. You recorded yourself doing it. Looked right at the camera. Even smiled." Her hand froze on the counter. "What are you talking about?" "The porch cam," I said. "You leaned over and told Chloe, 'He'll forgive us. He always does.'" Her face went pale. "You're misunderstanding." "No," I said quietly. "I finally understand perfectly." She tried the old line tears. Trembling voice. "Family means everything. But tears don't work when the well of sympathies run dry." 2 nights later, Chloe broke into my office. She didn't know about the new motion sensors. Didn't know the police would call me before she could even touch my files. She left a mess drawers open, papers scattered. The officers found her still inside, crying, saying she just wanted to delete a mistake. They didn't arrest her. I told them to let her go, but the footage was already saved, the final piece of proof. Daniel called the next morning. "You're sitting on a live grenade," he said. "I know," I replied. "I'm just deciding who I want to hand it to." The following week, the emails leaked. Not from me, someone else at Wexler's firm forwarded them to the brokerage board, anonymously. Probably a conscience, or maybe revenge. Doesn't matter. Within 48 hours, Wexler's license was under review. And Mom? She showed up at my office, eyes red, voice small. "Nathan, please, don't ruin your sister's life." I met her gaze. Calm, even. "I'm not ruining anything. I'm just refusing to be part of it." She took a breath like she wanted to scream, but couldn't. "You've changed." "Maybe," I said. "Or maybe I just stopped apologizing." That night, I sat in my car outside the property. The porch light glowed, soft through the rain. The house was empty, peaceful, exactly as I'd left it. I whispered into the dark, "It's your turn now," because I'd stopped being their safety net. And soon, they'd feel the fall. The night it all came to a head, Austin was soaked in rain. The kind that blurs headlights into streaks and makes even good memories feel like ghosts. Daniel called around 6 p.m. "They're all at your mother's house," he said. "Chloe, Wexler, probably celebrating the flip before it closes tomorrow." I looked out my window. The sky split open with lightning. "Good," I said. "Let's give them something worth celebrating." We drove through sheets of water. Wipers slashed rhythmically, thunder rolling over the flat Texas horizon. The Hale family home came into view, the old brick one, with the crooked porch light and Mom's silver SUV out front. Warm light glowed through the curtains. Laughter spilled out faintly, muffled by rain. Inside, they were toasting. Chloe in a cream sweater, phone in hand, recording the moment. Wexler at the head of the table like a king who'd conquered a small nation. Mom seated beside him, smiling through nerves. I knocked once, and then walked in. The laughter stopped. "Nathan," Mom said, voice trembling between surprise and warning. "We didn't know you were coming." I took off my wet jacket, set it neatly over a chair, and met her eyes. "I figured I'd stop by before the next forgery." Chloe scoffed. "We're eating. You can wait outside." Daniel stepped in behind me, setting his briefcase on the table. "Actually, he can't. We brought dessert." He flipped open the laptop. The room filled with the soft blue glow of the screen. On it played a video of the diner, the papers, Mom's hand signing my name in careful strokes. Her voice clear as day. "He'll forgive us. He always does." Wexler shifted in his chair. "Where did you get that?" Daniel smiled faintly. "From the same cameras that caught you wiring funds to a personal account instead of the LLC you thought you were buying from." Mom's face crumpled. "Nathan, you recorded us?" I didn't blink. "No. I protected what was mine. There's a difference." The next clip rolled. Chloe at my office, rifling through files, whispering, "I'll fix it before he finds out." Daniel closed the laptop. "You've all been very busy," he said lightly. Chloe stood up, shaking. "You set us up." I met her glare. "No, Chloe. I gave you a chance to prove me wrong." Wexler's phone buzzed. He looked down, pale. "This is ridiculous. You can't." Daniel interrupted, tone calm but razor sharp. "Actually, we can. The county recorder's already received our fraud notice. And the state board has your emails, Mr. Wexler. You might want to call your attorney before your license evaporates." Mom clutched her chest. "You drag us through court? Your own family?" "You dragged yourselves here," I said quietly. "I just brought the light." The silence that followed was heavier than thunder. Rain hammered the windows, steady and merciless. Chloe's voice cracked. "You're doing this to get revenge." I looked at her, the sister I once bailed out of debt, the child my father never said no to. "No," I said. "This isn't revenge. It's clarity." She laughed bitterly. "You think you're better than us. I think I'm done being erased." Mom reached for me, tears streaking her face. "Nathan, please. We're family." I stepped back. "Then act like it." Daniel pulled an envelope from his case and slid it across the table. "These are the notices of fraud and cease and desist orders. Copies have already been emailed to the title company and the bank." Wexler's eyes darted between us, calculating his exits. Chloe dropped into a chair, silent for once. Mom whispered, "What happens now?" "Now," I said, "you learn what happens when people finally mean what they say." I turned toward the door. Behind me, thunder rolled again, the kind that sounds like the sky tearing. As I stepped outside, rain splashed cold across my face. Daniel locked the car doors behind us. Through the window, I saw them still sitting there frozen around that glowing laptop, faces white, speechless. I didn't smile. I didn't feel victory. Just a strange, calm relief. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't the fixer. I was the storm. 3 days after the storm, everything went quiet. Too quiet. No more calls, no messages. Just a strange digital silence, the kind that means people are regrouping, not repenting. Daniel told me Wexler's license was officially suspended pending investigation. His face had already started circulating in real estate circles with the label fraudulent transaction under review. Chloe's name appeared in one of the reports too, as a cooperating relative. Mom must have realized what that meant. Her daughter's reputation was the first casualty. Elaine tried one last time. A voicemail, trembling, rehearsed. "We didn't mean to hurt you, Nathan. We were scared. We thought you'd help us fix it. You always fix things." I replayed it once, then deleted it. Instead of answering, I called my contractor. Told him I was ready to buy out the option and close on the property officially, legally, quietly. The funds transferred that afternoon. That night, I drove back to the farmhouse. My farmhouse. It smelled like lemon cleaner again, like the first time I walked through it. I hung new string lights across the porch. The rain had stopped. The yard glistened under a low Texas moon. Inside, I placed the finalized deed on the counter. My name, printed clearly at the bottom, Nathan Hale, sole owner. A soft knock startled me. It was Maya, my old tenant, holding a small potted plant. "I heard what happened," she said softly. "So I brought something alive." I smiled. "That's rare in this family." She laughed, left the plant by the door, and disappeared into the night. Later, I sat on the porch, coffee in hand, watching the lights hum. My phone buzzed once more, a message from Mom. "Family first, Nathan." I stared at it, the words glowing against the dark. Then I typed back, "I am. I'm building my own." And for the first time, I believed it. Because revenge wasn't the point. Freedom was. And I'd finally bought mine fair and square. If you've ever been the one who held everything together, the fixer, the quiet one, the one they all counted on until there was nothing left to give, this story is for you. Nathan learned that sometimes walking away isn't cruel. It's the only honest thing left to do. Family doesn't mean ownership. Boundaries don't mean betrayal. And maybe, just maybe, peace starts with saying no once, firmly and without apology. If you've ever outgrown the version of yourself that kept everyone else comfortable, subscribe. Because this story isn't over, and neither are you.